Welcome everybody to episode 11 of the Healthy Music Diet Podcast. I'm your host, Lloyd Knows. And this week, I got a very special artist. I've been listening to him for a while. I had him in my Spotify playlist, which I've been telling you guys to follow this podcast playlist at the Healthy Music Diet Podcast Season 1. And like the way to describe his music, he takes many different genres and like blend it into his own. I call him like the Avatar, but he does everything like perfect compared to like other artists who do like the ambitious route. So like without further ado, I like to introduce Brandyn Burnette.
Hey, what's up? I like that Avatar.
Yeah.
Last Airbender, bitch. Yeah. And then genre bender. Yeah.
Exactly. Something new in your bio.
Yeah, thanks for having me, bro. Appreciate it.
So how's everything with you?
Everything's good, man. Just been, locked down like everybody else, quarantined up, trying to stay healthy, making a bunch of music. I actually made a whole record in these last few months being quarantined, which has been a lot of fun, just like collaborating through Zoom sessions like we're doing now, and phone calls, FaceTimes, and just like recording different places in my home and everything. So it's been really cool. Obviously, it's a very tense time, which is crazy. And like we were even talking about it beforehand. I live downtown LA, and I was just witnessing the protests take place and everything happening with George Floyd and over Memorial Day weekend, and it was just very tense. It wasn't a very good time to like be self-promoting or trying to push anything but awareness to what's happening with injustices and everything. So it would it's been a lot, to say the least, like highly creative, but also I've myself been trying to learn a lot more just on ways that I can help my community and be a voice, use my platform to like speak on a lot of the wrong stuff happening in the world, but I also at the same time, there's a lot of opinions flying and everything. And like, I try to keep everything copacetic and about the music and just like promote positivity and peace. And even seeing some of the protests and like how peaceful they were and shit, it was like such a beautiful thing seeing all different races, all different people come together, especially in my city in LA. It was kind of scary when the riots were going down, though. I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't get any work done, man. There was just police sirens, helicopters swooping by. I live right off the highway too, so it was just like I had to dip out to my girls in Marina Del Rey for a little bit. Yeah, the scenery. But yeah, no, everything's good, man. I'm glad to be here in this time. I feel like it's an important time to be alive. Great time to be a musician.
Exactly.
And,
yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of change in the music industry.
Yes.
Also, since people can't perform.
Yeah, 100%. That's a huge thing. I mean, we don't even know when touring is going to come back.
Yeah, I read a post. I think I talked about it on my podcast.
Yeah.
I think like Arkansas, they're opening it up, but they're gonna have like 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
50% capacity, but I don't know how that's really gonna be.
You know what's crazy? They're already doing it here in LA. Like, you can go places. It's so weird. You just go in with a mask and you sit down, and then you take your mask off when you order something, and it doesn't really quite make sense because it's like you're at least 6 feet from people, but it's like I've been in places where there's like bodies in there right now and like nobody's got a mask on, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. It just seems like it's going to be one of those things where we'll test it out a little bit, but we don't even know like how long this thing's going to be. It's been around for a minute, you know what I'm saying? Like, whoa. So I'm still trying to find ways to do, like, I still haven't done any sessions with other people. I think a lot of people in music are sticking to like the Zoom route for right now, unless you're really close to people and you work with them all the time and you're kind of in the same circles. But I think it's just a smart way to go, until we get some more data. Yeah.
Like I'm hearing there's gonna be a second wave.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be.
Yeah. Already after the protests, man, there were so many spikes in cases in all these different states. That's just like, that's the unfortunate part about the time we're in right now. It's like you can't even
yeah.
You don't want to, I mean, you want to lift your voice and do something, but it's also like you got 10,000 people downtown where I was at one of the protests, and it's just like bodies packed on bodies, and like we're in the middle of a pandemic, so it's wild. Yeah.
So like I want to like start off by like the origin.
Yeah,
I was reading you came from St. Louis.
yeah,
So can you like talk about like how St. Louis growing up and everything?
yeah. St. Louis was it wasn't like where I started school and like started my childhood. I kind of like, my parents were in the military, in the Air Force, so we kind of moved around a little bit. I was born in Florida, and then I moved to California super young, in like Long Beach, Burbank, and then we moved from there to Houston, Texas. And I remember coming to St. Louis. I think I was like 9, turning 10,
Okay.
and so it was like just the 2000s, end of 99, 2000s. And I kind of consider that my hometown because it was like my adolescence. I was, in middle school and high school, forming my personality, my relationships, my talent, my artistry in this city. And it was a really interesting place to grow up. St. Louis, I was telling you a little before we started too, just getting to know each other, is St. Louis is super diverse. It's a really strange place. It's like, tends to be super conservative, but we also have, we have a crazy history. We had a bunch of businesses come in like the 40s, and then they all left, and we had like a world fair there, and like St. Louis was popping, and all of a sudden our city that we built up kind of became impoverished and buildings closed down. So it created a little bit of a divide. A lot of people think of St. Louis, from Nelly and stuff like that, but like St. Louis also has some monumental things that happened, over the years, with Ferguson riots, with some of the early Black Lives Matter movement stuff. And we kind of saw our city change a little bit and see the division, like the reality of, when you're younger, you don't really see it close up because you're in it, and then you take it back and you're just like, wow, I went to one neighborhood, we lived in one neighborhood, and I had to move school districts, and just because of the area code that I was in, and it was a significantly, worse school. Like, it lost its accreditation, so my mom actually got an apartment in the better school district just to use the area code, like on some like, hero saves the day stuff. And that's the reason why I even got, out of St. Louis. Like, I applied for colleges, and because I graduated from the better school district, and not the one that I was supposed to be going to, I ended up getting a scholarship and going to NYU. And it was just crazy to see my sister, actually, one of my sisters stayed at the school, and she went to community college, and the school lost its accreditation, and it was very, unfortunate for a bunch of students just because of where they lived, they aren't getting the same opportunity. So there was definitely an opportunity gap growing up in St. Louis, but I didn't let that hold me back. I just soaked in my existence, the culture, new friends that I was making. I befriended this one kid who exposed me to so much hip hop, so much gospel music, because his parents were pastors, and we used to go around all around Missouri and go to their sermons, and there's small Black churches called AME churches, and I would be exposed to like gospel choirs and just like live bass players and like cookouts every Sunday. And it was such like it's such a testament to like the kind of inspiration behind my music is so St. Louis driven, like between the hip hop, between the live instruments that I put in my own music. Like, I can definitely see that, how it bled through, St. Louis was dope. But I will say, like, I'm glad to have gotten out of it. Like, I even got it on my wall up here. I'm glad to be out of it. But I rep it so hard because I kind of want to let other kids know from the Midwest and, wherever they are in small towns or whatever, where it's like, yo, you put on for your city, but, the best way you can do something for it is to, try and make a change and use your talent. Like, you don't have to get caught up in, the wrong crowds and get caught up in the drug scenes and the gang scenes. You can like turn to whatever you're good at and just like use it to get out and then give back,
Yeah, facts. So who's your favorite St. Louis artist?
Okay, so right now, because he's kind of new. He's been around for a minute, but he's just kind of new. Right now, it's Smino.
Yeah, facts.
He's just like he puts the lingo of St. Louis, like the way we talk out there, the way we think, like the shit we do. he's got that so much character in his music, and like his
I can
beats
hear it.
his beats are super fire, man. And like, yeah, I think he's probably gonna be like as well known as like, you know, Nelly was for us in our time. Nelly was just a hit maker, you know. Obviously the same lunatics though, like no lie, people be sleeping on Murphy Brown, like Murphy Lee, and that motherfucker he put out 2 projects and he was like St. Louis's hero, but Nelly always kind of like, you know, stole the spotlight on it a little bit.
Facts. I bought my first J's because of him.
Yeah, man.
Like,
That was my first album
Force.
I ever bought. Yeah, with Air Force One on in Nellyville.
Yeah, stomping in my Air Force One.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Good old days.
Have you been to like a Cardinals game?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, they had an old stadium too, which was crazy. You know, it was like so historic and like some legendary games played, and then they built a whole new stadium. But yeah, that was like, you know, you had to get into baseball. I mean, you had to get into like baseball, football, because we had the Rams killing it with Marshall Faulk, Kurt Warner, man. So yeah, and on the Cards though, Pujols, geez, like we had some legends. It was awesome.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, I remember because I used to be big into baseball, so I used to always follow them, play them in MLB.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Pujols with that deep swing.
Yep. Low key OP at the end, but yeah. So you talked about your friend bringing you around to different churches. So when was like the first time you got fully immersed into music?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, actually, there's one thing that pops up when you say that. I went to a church camp, and at the time, you know, my family was like trying to find a church, and then we ended up seeing on TV this one church that was like kind of close by. So we ended up going to it, and it's like this huge mega church. It was crazy, called Church on the Rock. It's hilarious. The pastor's name was Pastor Blunt, which was so we were just dying all the time. But it was a really amazing time because I was just taking shape in my personality, and like I already been writing music and like playing piano, and I went to this church camp, and it was such a cool thing. I'd never been, you know, away from, you know, like parents that long, and you're just like around other kids and you're going and worshiping. And I remember some kid telling me about Coldplay for the first time, and I was like, I never heard of Coldplay. Like I didn't really listen to music like that, like crazily. I didn't know bands and stuff like that. So I got into Coldplay, and then we were at this one performance, like this band was coming to play, some Christian band, and it was like all these kids, you know. I started to make friends. I had a crush on a girl there, and everybody was there just like with their hands lifted, like crying and shit. And people were, you know, these people were singing a song, and I felt so embarrassed. Like I didn't want to raise my hands. I didn't want to like get into it, right? But as soon as I did, like it was like, you know how like, and I'm a spiritual. I don't push it like too crazy or anything like that. But like the Holy Ghost came to me right in that moment. It was like, this is the power of music. Like what a beautiful way to channel your life now that you feel how powerful it can be on a spiritual level, like not just like an entertainer or just like trying to flex all the time when you're making music or like win girls over or something like that, but like on a spiritual level, like what it can do for people, how it can be therapy for you and therapy for other people, and it's like this universal language. That was the first time. I was like probably 15 or 16 years old. I was like, damn, music is powerful. Like here I am, like thought I was gonna, you know, feel weird doing this, and all these people I'm looking around, my peers are respecting, like are, you know, all like just committing and just feeling it, like you see kids now at a festival, you know, tripping on Molly, like they're just into it, you know. But in this setting, it was so pure and it was so like positive driven, where it was like, you know, it wasn't about all the girls in the audience screaming for the band because they think he's hot or something. It's like, yo, we're screaming for God because like we're just teens on fire, you know. We feel passion and love, and it was such a powerful experience, man. It was like, it's something I haven't really ever, I don't think, talked about that experience too, but that was definitely one of those things that stuck in my head. Like, you know, I could want to do something like this forever, you know.
Yeah, because I can agree with you, because I grew up in like a Pentecostal church, like Caribbean, so Like
Yeah.
the church sermons be long, but it's always the
Yeah.
music, and it's just something
Yep.
about it that
Yes.
takes you over. Yeah, so I can
Yeah.
definitely see where you're coming from, like
Yep.
church.
Yeah, man.
And like now it's Father's Day from the time of the recording. And
Yeah.
I saw your post today
Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
dad. I didn't know he was on Soul Train.
Yeah. His manager was the guy who started Soul Train, Don Cornelius.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he was on there quite a few times. Yeah. And he like wrote the theme song for it and everything. Soul Train's a coming. So wild. Yeah.
So how like influential was he in your music?
Yeah, he was huge. I mean, I even just said it in my post on Instagram. It's like, he gave me instruments that he would get. I remember MySpace was just taking off, and he was like, you got to get up there. I was so young. I was like 14, 15, and I was just like building fans and he took me to my first recording sessions, helped me carry my keyboard places. I remember listening to his records early on, because it was just so cool to me that he dropped albums, and I was like, I have this natural knack for music, and here I am like exposed to a real artist. Like my first memories of being around him are like him recording vocals and stuff. So I just wanted to soak in his knowledge, so I would listen to his records, and he gave me this one keyboard where I could produce on the keyboard. It was so dope. So I would recreate some of his songs, and like he'd come home from work and I'd be like, yo, I play it back, and he's like, how'd you get that instrumental? And I was like, it's not an instrumental, I remade it. It's your song, I remade it. He was like, what? So he would just encourage me. I would play him songs. He wouldn't say much. It was awesome. My mom would be like fangirling out, loving it. My dad would be like, yo, just keep writing. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, this is my hit, And he was like, he's like, I'm going to teach you something really early on. He was like, even when you think you're like, you got it all, just like keep exploring, keep seeing what's out there. And because I took that advice, by the time I turned 18 and left home, I had 80 songs. And to this day, I can't even tell you how many songs I've written. It's probably in the tens of thousands. Like at this point, it's pretty intense.
How do you pick like which songs to put out?
Yeah. The interesting thing is like the whole process of me being a songwriter for other people is kind of like because of the volume that I write. I'm always writing things, or I'm always trying to write things from like my life perspective. And sometimes, I'll work with the producer and it'll be a different kind of sound for me, or something that, maybe I'm building a project already and, I don't see it fitting in for that. So it'll just sit around for a minute, and eventually, I'll send it around to some managers and other people, or the person I did it with has an opportunity for it. And like the songs eventually end up coming out on other artists. And so that's basically how I make my money today, is like I have such an index of songs. I'm constantly like hitting up DJs that I listen to on SoundCloud, or an artist that I see on a playlist that I'm like, yo, I wonder if they're collaborating, or if they'll take a hook, like send cold email to numerous artists that have like opened it and gone on to like put that song out, and it's generated me some income. So I kind of like take volume as like my weapon, where it's like nobody knows what I'm writing except for me. So I kind of have to use my business mindset and like look for opportunities, because I may come across something for like a TV and film spot where they're like, yo, we need this ending credit for a movie. We need this vibe that sounds like Imagine Dragons. We need The Weeknd. And I'm like, yo, oh shit, I made this song 2 years ago that like has just been sitting here that maybe would be perfect for that. And, I kind of like, it takes a lot to stay organized doing stuff like that. Like I basically have to keep a Dropbox folder of all my songs, and I have to keep my team involved every time I make a new song, and I got to register it properly. So it's a lot of work that goes into it. But I think writing a lot of music is kind of like been the reason why I've been in the industry so long, making a living from it.
Yeah, because like I study finance, so in a sense, it's kind of like assets.
Yeah.
You got all these assets, and now you can.
Gary Vee?
Yeah.
I mean, he says it all the time. It's like if you dropped a song every day, like you're eventually going to be successful. It like obviously it has to be good quality and good content, but like it's really true, man. Some songs, like just to end on this point, some songs of mine I put out like 5-6 years ago they're never hits. They'll never be hits. They'll never be on the radio. They'll never be something that everybody knows. They got like 5-6 million streams, and the way that's worked is like I put it out, and then I put out another thing, and that grows a little bit, and then another thing, and that grows a little bit, and pretty soon I've got a catalog that's like growing on its own organically from people finding it and discovering it just by the sheer volume of what it is. That being said, you got to keep your content good. So like I try to make my projects focus. That's why I've done little EPs and little mini albums. It's never just been like fire singles off.
Yeah.
Is because like, you know, I like to make projects for where I'm at in my life. So I try not to rush that process, but like already right now I have 2 projects done that are one's 7 songs and another one's 9 songs right now. So like 16 songs that I'm already ready, you know, I'm mixing right now, ready to put out. But just, you know, getting all the nuts and bolts together.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Can't wait to listen.
Oh yeah.
Put it on my IG page.
Yes, it's some new stuff. I mean, I think if you've been listening to my music, you're really gonna like enjoy it because how I feel about it is like just straight up. I went through a breakup and I was with this person for 6 years, and it like shaped the way I made music and shaped the things I talked about. And you know, no hard feelings to this person at all. But as soon as I like got out of that relationship and kind of like took some time to myself to find my voice again, and then I opened my heart up and found love again, and it was like so everything just hit me like boom boom boom, and throughout the whole period of the heartbreak and finding myself and like moving on, I was writing through this, and it was pouring out of me in a way that like I didn't care who heard it. It wasn't about making a hit. It was just about being completely honest and like genuinely having so much fun making it, because I was shocking myself. I was like, damn, I didn't know I had this in me. I didn't even know that like I had this depth, you know. Some of my favorite artists, like I listen to, and I hope young kids will put this shit on and be like, damn, like holy fuck, like, you know, like I know he went through heartbreak, but I didn't know it was like that. Or like, damn, he sounds like he's fucking happy right now. Like there's all of these ranging emotions of like, I call these projects basically like coming of age, whereas like you're shedding from the past and you're like finding yourself, and then you're like creating your future, you know. So yeah, I'm stoked for you to hear it, bro. I'm actually gonna send you a little clip, a little link after this, so you can get an early listen.
Say less. Appreciate it. So when I was doing my research to like figure out what to ask you, I noticed you were on American Idol. You got it, but I never saw any more clips of like what happened. Like, what the heck?
Oh, that was wild. This is a story. I'm gonna try and do this one really briefly. But basically, so I showed up to this audition in American Idol, and I like, it's a long story. Like I played a show with one of my favorite artists, John Bellion, in San Francisco, and after the show, my car got broken into and my laptop was stolen. So I was like speeding home back to LA, and I got a speeding ticket, like kind of close to San Francisco. So I forgot about this shit, you know. Long story short, I ended up like meeting the producers for American Idol in LA. I auditioned for them, and they like me, and they're like, it's like a pre-audition before you go audition, you know, for the real thing. So I'm telling them my story. They're like, what do you do? And I tell them I'm an artist, and, you know, I make music on my laptop. Actually, I just got my laptop stolen, and like, you know, it was a great first meet with these guys. It was so cool. And then I'm like filling out my information and getting the information for the audition in San Francisco on TV for the judges. And I get this knock on the door, and like one of the guys who's like the head of American Idol is like, yo, like, I'm sorry about your laptop. It's crazy you got it stolen. You know, I want to give you like this stock laptop so you can keep making your music. Like whether you do the show or not, like I want you to, you know, have this from us. And I was like, what is happening? Like, this is on some American Idol shit. The cameras aren't even rolling yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I get this laptop and I think to myself, what the hell? I'm going to do it. Like, I never wanted to do a reality thing or anything because, you know, I'm not a cover singer. I write my own music. But I was like, I got a laptop. The universe just gave it to me as a beautiful thing. So I'm going to go do it. So I'm driving back and there's 2 days that people can audition in San Francisco that they're taping. And I drive like on the first day because I have to pay the ticket that I got driving, speeding home. So I had to show up to court, pay the ticket. Then I was like, showed up to the hotel where they were doing the auditions. And I'm thinking like, okay, I'm here, on the day I'm supposed to be. And then they call I'm standing in line all day, and they call my name, and they're like, yo, Brandyn, you're actually supposed to be here tomorrow. You're not supposed to be here today. And I was like, what? Are you crazy? How did I mix that up? It must be because I was paying this ticket, whatever. And then as I'm turning to leave, this woman and this young kid are standing behind me, and this woman goes, Brandyn? And I was like, yo, yeah. And she was like, I'm your dad's cousin, and this is my son, and he's like been a fan of yours. We've been standing in line behind you all day. Like, this is crazy. Can we get a picture? I was like, no. I was like, this is just getting weirder and weirder. So I take a picture with my cousin, who's now at Berkeley College of Music. He actually went on to do the show, but I take a picture, I leave, and then I get a call from the producers at American Idol. They're like, yo, we just heard you met your cousin. You got to come back today.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, my emotions were just going crazy. And I was like, what? So then I show back up, and right before we're about to go audition, they're having us pretend to meet each other so they can get it on camera. They try to recreate it. So like that experience was like, oh, like, damn, by the third time you're pretending to meet somebody, it's so inauthentic, right? So and then so they ended up putting me and my cousin in the little box, like before you go in, like to audition. Like that's where they get people's nerves and they get them like fucking up and doing stupid shit. So, and then all of a sudden me and my cousin are in there, and Ryan Seacrest comes in and he's like, yo, are you two really cousins? And like does this whole bit with us. My cousin goes in, they put him through, and then I go in, and like right before I'm going in, Ryan Seacrest like and one of the judges like switch places, and like I don't even remember what happened, but basically I do my performance, and right in the middle of it, like Harry Connick Jr. comes up and like hugs me in the middle of it. I finished my song, and I was like, what is going on? Are they trying to like make me fuck up or something? Like what's happening? And then they all said yes. Like even Ryan Seacrest was the first time I think ever that they have 4 yeses, because Ryan Seacrest was judging it too. And then after the fact, you get in, you get the golden ticket. I'm doing this interview where they ask you like, why are you the next American Idol? And I'm sitting in this hotel, there's lights on me, I'm talking to this interviewer, and it's like the craziest moment that's ever happened to me, because I'm already feeling a little shaky about the experience, because I want to be able to perform my own original music, and I don't want to have to film things 3-4 times and have them feel inauthentic. And I'm just like, is this for me? And I'm about to answer this question to the interviewer, like, why do the next American Idol? And all of a sudden the power in the whole hotel goes out, like everywhere. And like everyone's like hooting, hollering, and screaming. I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, if this is not a God moment for me, like I don't know what is. I sat there in darkness for 10 minutes as I try to get these backup generators going. And I thought about it, like, why am I the next American Idol? Like, what happens if I get on, like, and they don't let me sing my songs, or like I have to do the group performances and I just like fuck up, or I forget a lyric or something crazy. It was like, it wasn't like I was scared to do it, but I was like more so thinking to myself, like, I had just gotten off of a record deal at that point. I spent 5 years with Warner Brothers, and I just gotten free. And like the contract was like a huge component to it. It was like, you basically have to like give them rights to everything. And I hadn't even started my career. I'd been signed for 5 years, but I only put out 1 single with Warner Brothers. So I felt like I had so much like I could create on my own. So basically, I thought about all that in those 10 minutes, and power came back on. I finished the interview. I sent the things that my family would sign to be on the show and everything. I got that all done. And then right before I had to sign myself, I called my lawyer, and I was just like, yo, what are the, tell me really what this contract means. And once he broke it down for me, it was just like strictly just like creative control, something I'm not willing to give up. And, I the funniest part about the whole experience, my parents and my extended family, they were so bummed. They wanted me to be on it so bad. They thought I'd make so many fans and everything. But the beautiful thing about it is I took the laptop that they gave me, and I made my first 3 EPs, bro. And I can't even believe that like I pay my rent and like I pay bills and I take care of my family off of these 3 EPs I made. So it just goes to show the power of owning your stuff, you know. And like they ended up airing the audition, which was so cool. I played an original song about loss. I made a ton of new fans from that moment that still are my fans today. But the best part that I gained out of it is I've been independent to this day, you know, like just making money from streaming and shows, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful that I felt like I made the right decision for me, you know?
Yeah, because I always hear this saying, it's better to sell 20,000 records than 1,000,000 if you don't own it.
Yeah, man.
So what's the difference between being on Warner and being independent? Like, what's the pros and cons for each?
Yeah, I'd say the pros for a label is that you have access to budgets, you have access to producers, and you know, every producer, songwriter, you know, is willing to give their time to somebody who's signed, you know, because it's just a cut that fulfills their contract obligations and everything. It's cool having a bunch of different creative heads. I'll say that's also a con, because my experience, and this isn't the same for everybody, but just my experience, the industry was like changing a ton when I got signed. It was 2010 to 2015. Spotify was just becoming a thing. There weren't these major playlists, and I even think like Apple Music and Tidal were just becoming something too, you know. So there was very much like still radio focused, and you know, every day that I was showing up to the studio was with a big hit maker, you know, and the goal was to write a radio single. And that can be like very daunting for somebody who's super creative, like highly creative and involved. You know, there are some artists that are entertainers and cut songs that they don't write, and that's like perfectly cool too. But for like, you know, creatives that, you know, can write their own music and stuff, it can be a little intimidating to like limit your scope to just like strictly trying to get on the radio, because that's, as we know, is a super hard thing to do. It's can be political sometimes. It can cost labels a lot of money, so they often don't take that risk. Being independent has some, you know, really great perks too. The number one thing is ownership, and a lot of questions like other artists will ask me is like, okay, well, I have ownership, but like, you know, my song's coming out and it's staying under 1,000 plays. So like, what's the point of having ownership if nobody's listening to it? And that's where we were talking about before. I think content is super key.
Yeah.
And like, there's so many different ways to get your music out there. And like, unfortunately, as they keep evolving with things like TikTok and everything, like money is a huge driving factor for being independent. And the number one advice I would give to artists too is like, every dollar you make in the beginning, like you have to put it back into the music. Like it's this cycle that like a lot of people forget. Like you'll get one check and you're like, oh great, I'm gonna go, you know, buy some new shoes off of this. Is like, no, like save that little bit of money and make your next release, like do something more, try a little TikTok campaign out, or like, you know, like try to get some PR this time, like, you know, maybe hire a playlisting company that's legit, that will get you actual, you know, at least some sort of audience that you can then build off of. So there's so many ways that you can actually earn income. You could use your voice and just like cut some people's songs and feature on your voice, have them not even credit you, you know, to start, you know, saving up and maybe buy better equipment, buy a nice microphone. Like there's so many things that I've done, you know, where once I got a tiny little bit of money, and it stayed tiny for a while until eventually, you know, as my quality was going up and as my like quantity was going up as well, eventually it turned into like a completely sustainable living, like where, you know, sometimes I could afford to splurge a little bit, because I was like, wow, this month my music made X amount, like that's 4 times the last month, like, you know, wow, like it's crazy. So but it's hard to get there, and I think a lot of people don't have the luxury too. It's like, I haven't had a job in a long time, you know, and a lot of people are stay working and have to do other things to pay the bills and pay the rent. And I think time management is another big thing that's hard to do when you're independent, because you're your own boss. And like, you know, okay, let's say you own your songs, or you do a small deal with a company like AWOL or something where they have 15%. Well, if you don't have the time to work and promote it yourself, and you're just relying on these partners to like do something, it's like you're never gonna push the needle a little further. Like you have to try and find, you know, a team. You have to try and find a manager. You have to try and find better distribution partners, like, because Spotify and Apple Music get 40,000 songs like I think it might even be a day at this point.
Like every huge,
it's like you can get lost in the noise. Like even at the level that I'm at, like I sometimes feel what's the biggest missing ingredient for me is just more exposure. And I'm constantly trying to figure out ways, you know, to make better music, but also to really dig into the marketing of it, where like how would I use money if I was given money from a label, you know, on my own, whereas a major label, they have a budget for you, but they tell you how they're going to use it, you know, and it's often hard to get those funds and get them to trust, you know. So it takes a lot more work being independent, but like if you can make good shit and like find resources to get it out there, it will turn into something which is awesome, bro. Like that's the best advice. I always tell my homies, like, just keep dropping stuff, and like make sure it's better each time. You know, it's a hard needle to find too in the haystack. Where you're just like, what's better, what's gonna, and that comes from just exploring, trying, jumping on features. That's the freedom of being an independent artist too, is like there's no label having to approve my voice being on this or that. It's kind of just like, you know, Wild West.
Yeah, facts. So like, would you say the music, like making music or being a musician, is more business or just more music?
It's interesting. I mean, because I'm in the position of being so independent, I have a great management team. I got like business managers. You know, I just recently got free of publishing and everything. So I say the business side of it is super important. You can't get overwhelmed with it, and you can't do it all yourself. That's why you have a good team. Because like at the end of the day, if I can't walk into the studio, clear my mind of everything, not think about how shit's gonna do, not think about what I just put out doing well, not worried about, you know, where I'm gonna get my money from and get my next meal. Like if I can walk into the studio with just the pure focus on the music, that's number one. The business comes after the music, and that's where a lot of people think, oh, you can just put something out and like it's gonna blow up. And it's like, unfortunately, it can happen, you know. But like that's where, if you want to have longevity and if you want your career to be something over time, like you might have hard times too where you're not making any money, you know, and then you have a great year where something happens and pops off, and like, you know, you have to learn how to invest in yourself and the right ways to invest in yourself, I think. And that's where the business is 100% make or break your lifetime ability to do this. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, like even my dad, you know, who was on Capitol, he's my sensei. He's a legend in my eyes, you know, but he was the unfortunate case of a major label, you know, kind of taking advantage of him. And, you know, they even ended up putting out a best of his music and never paid him royalties.
Really?
Yeah, they never paid him royalties. We found it one day in like a Borders bookstore, and we ended up hiring a lawyer and got him all these royalties. And, you know, he was struggling at that time working at Whole Foods. Like we were like super low income, and it's just crazy that if you don't know how to chase your money and get your money, who's getting screwed? I think you're kind of screwing yourself, because we just need to know that it's out there, and there are ways to collect. A lot of people don't know about Sound Exchange. A lot of people don't know if your song plays on a Spotify playlist, like it could register as Sound Exchange, and like it may be $5 fucking, you know what I'm saying? But like that's money that your music made. That's a beautiful thing. Like
passive income.
Finding all of those like little tiny things, man. Like I swear I'll send an invoice for $23. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like
your money.
I'll be like, yo, that's like that's coffee.
Exactly. Yeah, because like I think now people or artists are more aware, since there isn't any more gatekeepers. Because even like early 2000s, like TLC, they weren't making a dime off of how predatory the labels can be. And I just made a post how what is it, like BMG, they're gonna be looking over like artist contracts because they think that they were mistreatment to like black people back in the day. So
wow, yeah, man. I you know what's crazy? It's like like I don't know if this is a stretch to say, and it's just how I feel. Like, I really do feel like sometimes in the past with music, it's like it's been creative slavery sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And like, even with the culture of music and like how many times we pulled from the Black culture, and like the fact that there's this term in music called urban, like that's
Yeah.
so grating and so fucked up. And every time people like, literally people would even see the color of my skin back when I was doing singer-songwriter type shit and be like, oh, it's urban. And I'm like, the fuck, I'm singing like John Mayer over here. What do you mean? Like, why does it have to be that term for it though? I'm saying, like, and even back down to Elvis, you know what I'm saying? Like Elvis being a direct rip of, you know, one of our amazing artists too. So it's like, it's something where I tread lightly, because I feel like a lot of people are trying to do good things. Like I saw a lot of people donating, like Warner Music donated, Sony donated during these protests and everything. And a lot of like my peers and people in the industry are, you know, are using their voice for good things. But yeah, there's been a lot of like, you know, messed up stuff, and just the treatment of artists, like how many artists we've had dying and like ODing, and like just the how it's glorified almost in a way
You're
where
making
it's like
money off of it.
they make so much money. I mean, like it's the craziest thing. So yeah.
Yeah, because like I made a post too. Republic Records, now they just got rid of the term urban.
Yep.
Yeah, which is
I'm grateful. I'm
yeah.
glad. Yeah.
Mhm. So like even when it gets to like Instagram and like perception and being like a
Yeah.
musician, not just yourself, but
Yeah.
is everything a little bit too overinflated? Like artists that are posting on Instagram, they're not really doing as well
Yeah.
as they're trying to like perceive.
Yeah. What do you mean? Like just about what's going on in the world right now?
Or just like in general, even like before that, like them driving like fancy cars, them being
Oh yeah.
there and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think social media is a weird thing to me. Like I guess the only thing I could say about it is like it's this place that we kind of only post our positive and like flexing and like accolades and achievements, and it's such a strange, like I find myself like conflicted too often of like what message I'm putting out, and like what kind of like feed am I giving. That's why on my story sometimes, I don't know if you ever see it or like you probably will, is I post a lot of art. I just love looking at art. I find dope art on Instagram and I just repost it, and I try to use my space there to like update people. And you know, sometimes it's been like, holy shit, I just got this plaque, it's amazing. But even that kind of stuff where it's like a flex, you know?
Yeah.
So I think with other artists, man, especially in the hip hop community, a lot of the times it's like it's a status thing, and it's something that like I don't necessarily resonate with, even with some women, man, like just like booty shots and just like OnlyFans and like all these girls just like on girls. And like, listen, I want to promote body positive. I want, you know, women to embrace themselves and do them. But it's like it comes to the point where I can't even go on my feed. I'm like, yo, my feed is filled with these like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, I gotta change my algorithm or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? I need to just go back to like art posts and everything, because it can be so much. Instagram is such a place where it's like, yo, between looking at other people's lives, playing amazing shows, or like posting about what, you know, like even with this what just happened, man, like just seeing like the whole Blackout Tuesday thing, and some people just divided on that whole thing, like don't post anything, don't post the black square, what does it do? And just seeing like just how social media has like become such a part of our whole like narrative now as people, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just crazy that like it's crazy that it's such a huge component to everything. But you know, I try and keep my shit positive, funny. You know, if you go to see my TikTok, like I just have videos of scaring my girlfriend. Like I try, like, you know, I try and keep it light a little bit, you know, and also you can just tell when somebody's being inauthentic online. Like it's so clear. So
Yeah. Yeah. True.
yeah.
So now I want to like talk more about your music,
Yeah,
but like before that, I gotta like talk about the alias you had
yeah,
Emanate, and now
yeah,
you're going back to like Brandon. So like, how did that name come up?
yeah. So Emine's actually my middle name, one of my middle names. I was born Brandon Robert Emanate Folks, and that's like the Jamaican side of Emanate Folks is from like my biological father, who's from Kingston. I was mentioning. And it's just a name that's been passed down on that side. And I reconnected with him like later on in life a little bit. And, I was kind of just like connecting to my roots. And the word emanate actually means, it's just a beautiful meaning. It means to come forth, like light can emanate, sound can emanate. And it's part of my life, it's like was on my birth certificate when I was born. Such a cool word. So I decided to kind of use that project. At first I was just like, I'm committing, like Brandyn Burnette is dead. Like, here we go. I'm gonna start Emanate. Like, this is my new sound, this is my new vibe. And then it kind of just became, I dropped one project and it was so gospel influenced and also had some reggae influence. And I was co-producing a lot of it. And it was a big step for me because I think I was exploring a lot of different sounds as Brandon on my first EPs. And then when I did Emanate, it was kind of like trying to like in some way like find some cohesiveness in the sound, and it was such a great process. Like starting a brand new page was so cool. Transitioning with my fans was amazing. And funnily enough, I ended up transitioning everything back, to Brandon, but Emanate's still a project that I have, so why I started two projects is I wanted the ability to drop different sounds. And Emanate is very gospel, hip hop, St. Louis. And my Brandyn Burnette stuff has always been, some EDM, sometimes some R&B, some acoustic album on there. I got a collab with John Bellion back in the day that I put up. And it was just like, way more diverse. And Emanates has a clear meaning to me. It's like my roots, like the thing that I feel like we talked about in the beginning, where I grew up and the scene I grew up in St. Louis. And I've made a second album for Emanate, and it's actually coming out kind of soon. It's crazy. And it's all, I got hired basically to make a gospel hip hop album. And I was like, why not make this the second Emanate project? I was writing these songs. I had 10 days to do it with two producers, these guys called the XI. And we got hired by Hans Zimmer's company, who he does like soundtracks and TV and film stuff. So basically what they use the album and they go after TV and film spots. And it's like such a cool experience to have been a part of. But I was going to church every single Sunday. And then I got tapped in to do this album. And I was just like, holy shit, like this is the Emanate album that I've always wanted to make, Yeah. So then came the dilemma. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be releasing, this other music that I made, but it's clearly different than the Emanate sound. Like I found like, wow, Emanate has a whole different, it's like not like an alter ego, but it's more so just like a different headspace for some reason. I don't know why, but like for some reason when I'm writing for that project, it's just a way different vein of me that I feel like is very focused on just like the sounds that I heard when I grew up, like in the church, and like, and you'll hear that album when it comes out too. It's very cohesive, bro. It's like from track 1 to track 10, it's like a gospel hip hop album. It's amazing. So and I decided to release my new music now that's not in that lane as Brandon, because again, it stays true to what I've done under the Brandyn Burnette sound, which is just like I'm trying things out. I have my lane because I'm making it myself and I'm writing it myself. But I don't stick to a genre. Like you'll hear on the first drop that I have, it's like super hard hip hop verses and a super dope pop hook. Like sounds like it could be a G-Eazy BB Rexha song or something like that, you know what I'm saying? And then I'll switch and I have, a song that's like a summertime jam where, it's a little more smooth, like my last track Nirvana that I had. And then I have another song that's like, R&B, and that's what's the beauty of having these two projects is like I've clearly defined emanate, and Brandon, just like the guy underneath that all, is still a work in progress. I'm still figuring it out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I think that it detracts some people when I say this, but like the thing I want people to take from my music, and the best part about it, is like it's not that I don't know who I am, but like I'm figuring out who I am, just like the people listening to my shit. And so it's like I may be angry one day and rapping one day, and I may be softer side talking about love the next day, and these are all parts of the same human being. So why limit it to a genre? Why limit it to just a specific style? I try to challenge myself to create new emanations, of my own way of writing. Like I'm like, okay, I've been singing for the last 4 songs I made. Let me flip it up and just like go hard on the hip hop today, just to challenge myself, just to see what's inside. So yeah.
Yeah, because like even when I was listening to that EP Emanate, it felt like it was coming from all different avenues, but it felt like it was coming from a single person. It was just like a headspace, because you had like Reese beats, you have Grateful, that's more like reggae. I hear like a drop beat in it,
stirred up.
Yeah, and it's like when I listen to, like, let's say the 1975, their latest album, I heard it and I know how Matt likes to go different routes, but I felt that never felt like it was just from one person. It felt like it was from 10 different people, and it just all just came to one album, but it never spoke through like a journey. Like yours brought it. Okay, I see where his mindset's going through each track.
Hey, that's awesome, man. I appreciate that. Yeah,
and then you even have like with the Colombian song, what's the name?
Arguello.
Yeah, I'm just like, man, this dude is really the avatar.
It's so funny, man. Like sometimes I'm like, does it work against me? And then I'm thinking to myself, like, you know what? Like, why not? Like, you don't want to cast your net too wide. People always tell me that, right? Like, it's not like I'm doing this because I'm trying to get everybody. It's just like, I really do feel like some days I'm like, I'm on my EDM shit. Other days I'm like, I'm on my R&B shit. Other days I'm like, I'm on my fucking hip hop house shit. I don't, and I don't want to limit myself, because I feel like if you talk to any young kid in Generation Z and they ask you what their favorite type of music is, I guarantee you they see all music. It's like we are so exposed to all genres and all different things, from the video games kids are playing, to the TV shows that they're loving, to the TikToks that they're going crazy over. We love all different genres. Tell me how we can have 2 different, like, it's just crazy. You know what I'm saying? And my favorite artists too are artists that switch it up too. Like Kanye West is an amazing example of, like, he's always had his cohesive thing, but it's like he's bringing something new. Tyler the Creator, he's bringing something so new. Chance the Rapper, even on this last album, was like, I thought he was going to do more coloring book stuff, and like he took me on a whole journey. Bruno Mars, great example. Like that motherfucker evolved 4 times in front of our eyes. Like it was amazing. So I respect artists that like aren't afraid to take those creative risks. I often kind of equate myself to a guy like Pharrell, because like I definitely relate with his love for live elements. I love his use of hip hop, but I also love his use of alternative and like rock and roll and like soul. He's really like one of those multi-genre artists that are like, he can do anything. He can produce a hit with Ed Sheeran,
like his NERD. I remember buying Seeing Sounds in like 2008 at like 10, and just like it's so different from like Beautiful. And you hear him like mixing and producing for Justin Timberlake. That's why I love him. And even what you were saying, and your music is another reason why I wanted to contact you, because it embodies my podcast, the Healthy Music Diet Podcast, and my slogan is expanding your music palette 1 track at a time.
Oh, I love that.
And like I met one of my best friends, he's French, and like the way that we got to that like personable connection was like I listened to French music, because I believe music is the universal language. I don't care if it's like you're like in Jamaica and then you go to the ocean. Sebastian and Ariel's gonna make some fire heat.
Like, true. True.
Yeah, so there's always there's no bad genre. There's a good song for every genre. So so that's why I believe like you embody like everything what my podcast is like about. And dude, I want to touch upon your Underneath music video, because you had Lindsay Shaw, and I was a big Classified fan. So like, how did that come? Like,
that was wild, actually. So I met her through a friend of mine, and we had just been hanging out, and I told her about this idea that I'd just seen a movie. I think it was called like Cloverfield Lane or something like that, where this guy keeps this girl underground. And I was like, damn, this shit is crazy. And you know what's so wild about that now is, like, with the whole COVID going on, it was like bananas. Because I remember thinking, I was like talking to the director when I was making it, and I was like, look, we were coming up with the treatment and talking about actors and everything, and I was like, I want this to be like a huge pandemic has broke out and these two people are trapped underground. And I kept seeing like somebody with like freckles on their face and everything. And so I popped in my head. I was like, holy shit, I need to hit up my little brother. He's always wanted to act, and he was going through some stuff. So my little brother's actually in the video with Lindsay. And then I just threw it by her. I sent her the song, and she was like, Brandon, look at my Twitter. I've been posting your lyrics on Twitter for a couple of days now. Like, I love this song. First of all, I would love to be a part of this. So yeah, she got involved, and you know, she was such a great trooper. We drove out somewhere in the desert and shot it in a day. And I did some like behind the scenes that was really cool to see, just the dynamic and what the project meant, you know. And yeah, she's an amazing actress. She actually ended up hitting me up after that to be in a short film that she was doing. So I did this short film with her and this director, Mamani Khan, and it's a really dark, trippy short film. I can shoot you the link to that too, but it's really dope. I think it's on Vimeo. But yeah, it was so cool. So we just, you know, we maintained a pretty good relationship as friends. And yeah, she's an amazing actress. She's incredible.
Yeah, because I love like the whole like music video. I'm like, yo, this is very like professional. It feels like a film.
Yeah.
I had to like ask about it.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was doing research on YouTube in like 2016. You said you wanted to like perform for more like festivals. Were you able to like, get to that point?
I've never performed at a festival, still to this day, and it's exciting because I have, you know, I've worked in the EDM space, and I have had a couple great experiences opening for DJs and playing with DJs at their shows that are really big. Like the last one I played was like 6,000 kids at USC with my buddy's two friends, and like you get that festival experience, but I have in no way like traveled to festivals and played a set of my own. So, but I have some great features coming up too, that hopefully, you know, some of these guys just ask me to join them just to get that experience, and that'd be amazing. But of course, you know, the whole goal is like, I want to do my music at the festivals. Like, I don't want to just be doing, you know, EDM spots. So, but I'll take it. If somebody wanted to hit me up and bring me somewhere, like, I'd be like, yo, let's go.
Yeah, facts. Every exposure is good exposure.
Yeah, exactly.
And two, I like your IG, your Thanksgiving IGTV post.
Oh yeah.
The live one, it showed like your vocal range. I'm like, all right. So, because some artists only are good on records, but they're not that good live.
Yeah, totally. No, man, that's where I think I'm the best. Even better than in the studio is like replaying it and like feeling it again. That's something that's really hard, is just to get that connection every time, you know. Yeah. But it's the one chance where you can live what you wrote about and felt about over again in such a safe space. But it's also like a therapy up there, man. Like, you know, when you're jumping around and you're working off a crowd and you're feeling energy, and sometimes you'll see people singing back, and it's just a confirmation that like, yo, I made this for a reason. Like, you know, somebody feels it, somebody fucks with it. If it's one person, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, it doesn't matter, you know? Yeah.
And you said you used to like Six Flags a lot. Did you like change like your hobbies now?
Oh man, I did change my hobbies up because I haven't been to Six Flags in a minute. I still love roller coasters so much. But I've been getting into hiking more. I've been going on these little hikes around California. I did like a 10-mile hike that turned out to be like a 14-mile hike like a couple weeks ago. I love rollerblading, me and my girl got some roller skates and rollerblades. I spent a lot of time, just trying to be outdoors. I play NBA. I love NBA 2K. Love that game. Yeah, I grill up. I love grilling now. I've been cooking a lot, being home. Yeah, man, I've been trying to find, healthy ways to like still live a life during quarantine, because that's where inspiration comes from. It's like, if you're not going out and doing things and feeling things, like, what do you have to pull on? So I try and find things that make me feel normal, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I played tennis with my girl a couple times. Like, that's so fun and just like non-music related. Like, gets a little workout going.
Yeah, I play a lot of tennis.
Yeah.
And like, I know times aren't normal, but like with like the Black Lives Matter movement, I've seen you post a lot of it on your IG. Like, what does that movement means for you currently?
Yeah, it's something that, funnily enough, I have been feeling. I think I felt the most changed when the Ferguson riots were going on, and I put out a video called Karma. That was just like a story of two brothers and like how it could go. They're going around feeding homeless in one reality, and another reality they get stopped by a cop and the brother gets arrested. And it's a profound video for me because I worked with this amazing director. She's gone on to do cool things at Apple TV series and movies, and her name is Manal. And she contacted the families. We used clips of a lot of the injustices and the police brutality, with Philando Castile, and just, there's so many fucking names. Well, it's crazy, but we had clips of these moments happening in the video, and to speak to the families and kind of have their blessing on what message I was putting out back then, in like, I think it was 2015 or 2016. It felt amazing to be a part of the conversation, but it caused a lot of drama in my life. I have family on my mom's side, that they got a lot of cops and law enforcement, and so even trying to speak up and stick up and share a story of Black lives and how much they matter through my video, like, I saw how that was met with such resistance, and like, people assumed I was saying fuck the police, and it's just like, nah, I really just don't want more of my brothers and sisters or me or my sons, killed, and being terrified of getting pulled over, and in whatever circumstance. Like, how many deaths do you think happen that aren't recorded? Like, it's crazy, So I kind of like it. I'm ashamed to say it, but once I made that video and I was so passionate about it, and I really spoke up. It caused some disrupt in my family. It took years to kind of heal that up. And I kind of got a little quiet with my, activism side of myself. It's like, I'm not an activist, and I'm not too conscious, I'm not too political with my music, but I definitely think as a young Black man, which it took me a while to even identify as that. I always used to be, I'm just Greek, Hungarian, and Jamaican. It's like, no, I'm half Black. Like, I am straight up, like, my dad is Jamaican, like dark Jamaican, like, and so for me, it was like seeing this happen again with, like, George Floyd and the deaths that were happening even before that, it struck a nerve, because it was like, this time I'm not going to be quiet. Like, a lot of my friends don't even know that I'm Black until I have to tell them. Like, I've been in rooms with people who literally, like, saying racist comments and being like, oh, we're all white in here just because of how I look. And I'm just like, actually, no, I have to single myself out and say, no, actually, we're not all white in here. And that's kind of fucked up what you said. And if there was a Black person here, would you have said that? And like, having those experiences plus this going on, and also seeing how many of my friends and family members, were vocal, were willing to lose some followers, were willing to have those uncomfortable conversations. It just lit me up, man. It made me feel like, what a great time to be an artist and be alive and be a mixed artist, and what a great opportunity, regardless on if I'm preaching to 30,000 people on Instagram or just the people that I come in contact with, you know, finding ways to like just have these conversations is so key, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy when you think about our history as a country, like all the things we've had to fight for. And like, I went downstairs in my building the other day, and some homeless person was screaming at my guard the N-word. And I'm like, you know what, no matter what, until that shit stops, I don't care what if people act like racism doesn't exist. It exists, and it was quiet, and it's loud sometimes too. But this whole thing with, you know, even now with the rioting and looting, and like people are equating protesters to rioters and looters. I did a TikTok on my balcony that like went viral because I was just capturing a moment, and to read these comments were heartbreaking. To see some people shoot the monkeys, and oh, black people, you know, won't be getting a new stimulus check, and like just to see the hate still, like the confusion that our leaders are kind of like portraying to the world and kind of adding to the division. That shit infuriates me, bro. Like, I'm glad I do music. You know, if I didn't do music, and maybe even still in the cards one day in my life, like I would be joining Black Lives Matter and I want to be, you know, at the rallies speaking up. I want to encourage artists to raise awareness and continue to make these changes. You know what I'm saying? I think it's important, it's imperative, you know, to not just drop songs and hope to blow up, you know, and speak then. It's like, I want to be along the way, regardless of on if I make it in the industry or not. You know, I want people to know it's like, I'm not afraid to speak up for things that I think are right. And I want to encourage other people too. And we can disagree, you know, we don't have to fight about it. But I think every artist, you know, especially if we want to do something like really about change, and we need to vote, and we need to learn more, and we need to have conversations. Like, half of us don't even know what we vote for. It's the saddest thing, bro. Sometimes I'm voting and I'm like, who the fuck is this? I have to choose between these two people I don't even know. Like, what's happening? Like, yeah, it's wild, man.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, like you're doing, like, bringing awareness, so that's like all
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah, definitely.
The platform, because some other artists are staying really quiet, and
yeah,
it's sad because they do profit off of like Black culture.
Yeah, 100%, man. A lot of people trying to go viral with it too, you know? Like, a lot of people out there just trying to snap videos and hoping that they take off, and they don't even know you. I mean, I remember this is the last thing I'll say about it, because it's a touchy subject for certain people, but I was downtown at City Hall and people were just screaming like, fuck, like one of the like politicians in office. And I'm like, before I start saying that shit, let me look her up so I know who, like, what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like there's this like hype that happens around it. A lot of people want to be a part of it, but a lot of people really think that like you can just post up one thing and that there you did your change. No, we got petitions to sign, we got people to vote out of office, people to vote into office. There's so much work that has to be done, and it's so crazy because we're a generation glued to our phone and our own universe. But when it comes to the real change, like, I'm glad the protests were happening and it created awareness, but activating that, you know what I mean? Like, is so key. Like, how we actually, you know, do something different. How do we get the police defunded? You know, if that's something that we can put more money into our communities that are, you know, neglected, and take a little bit out and cut out some, you know, reshape budgets and stuff like that. That doesn't really sound like too much to ask for, you know what I mean? Just to have the conversation, to look at some of these things is like the number one thing. So yeah, it's wild, man. So it's a wild time to be alive. It's also an interesting time to be like trying to put music out and everything. So I'm just trying to navigate the landscape and just keep it all honest, keep it 100%. You know, I make music to help me and to help other people and put positivity into the world. And, you know, wherever that takes me, you know, however big or loud my imprint is, you know, people that meet me all know, like, I'm outspoken, you know, and I'm not afraid to have a debate, but I want to promote love and positivity. I'm not like the gun toting type of rapper, man. Like, I'm straight up just like, yo, let's light a joint. Let's connect. let's cry if we had to. Let's listen to music. Let's be positive. Let's encourage our brothers and sisters to stop fighting and shit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, be grateful, man. We got iPhones and iPads and Netflix and all these amazing things in the world. Like, why are we seriously fighting each other? And like, why are there people being hung from trees around California right now still? Like,
Yeah,
to
I
this
heard
day?
about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
that bothers me a lot, because those are the, you know, same people who say racism doesn't exist quietly, if they're alone and provoked the right way. I've been seeing videos pop up of like some awful things said to people, you know, just because of, you know, how they look. And that's got to change, I think. And musicians have a great opportunity. Celebrities in general have a great opportunity. That's why I love Kendrick from Insecure. I saw him speak down Sound City Hall, and to listen to what matters, like to actually listen to what they're trying to do. It's a movement that like nobody should be against. It's just, it makes sense.
It's not political. So
Yes, exactly. Human rights, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, but on a lighter note,
yeah,
talked about your dad from Kingston. So
yeah,
what has reggae music been to you, if you've ever like dived into it? Because I hear it in some of your music with Emanate. So
yeah. So I mean, I think a lot of reggae, I've never really dove heavy into reggae, but ska music is like a genre that I think mixes blues and reggae together. And it's a lot of there's a lot of dub influence, you know, and there's a lot of horns, which is something that I love horns, and a lot of piano based stuff. Like the one hit that my family had was called "Oh Carolina," and it's like a famous song, "Oh Carolina," and it's just like some Congo drums and a piano and live drums. And I think ska music has really influenced me, because it's very rhythmic based, you know what I'm saying? It's very melodic, and it's like, you know, it's rooted on the elements, you know, like it's very it sounds like the area it came from. And so I think it was so cool to kind of like figure out this part of my culture and dive more into like the story of, you know, my family getting their songs stolen by Shaggy and how that whole thing, and then just listening to Shaggy's version and just seeing like the evolution and how he evolved ska music. And I was just like, it's really cool. You know, I did one song on the new Emanate album that I was mentioning that is straight reggae influence, just like a summer day, you know, and it's really unique. It's something that I want to explore more, because I feel like it's really hard to make authentic reggae music. You know what I'm saying? Like you hear people trying. It's a really tough genre, because it's like a lot of the reggae that we're familiar with, the Bob Marley and the Wailers, is like, these came from huge, tremendous times like we're in right now, where it's like, it's a message and the whole thing. It's like, it's not like just about like having a hit record. You remember that song? You remember Magic? You remember?
I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
It was like that. It was like, you know, it was a massive song, but like it didn't stick, you know, like they didn't stick, unfortunately, because they weren't a reggae band, you know, it wasn't like a,
word.
Yeah,
because like reggae music is more revolutionary.
Yes, exactly.
It's not really just music just to digest the message.
Yes.
So what can we all expect from Brandyn Burnette in the future, or Emanate, whichever one?
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, my main focus, I'm dropping things under Brandyn Burnette again. I have an EP that I'm setting up like right now. It's getting mixed. It's gonna be coming out in like the next month. And then I have another Emanate album that I told you about that's coming out the next few months as well. And it'll be interesting to see, you know, like what people think of both projects. I think I've never been more excited about a like solid collection of music than this, and I'm excited to see the reaction. I think it's my best work I've ever made, and I'm getting older too, man. I'm like 29. I'm about to be 30. So I'm like, I'm a grown ass man, right? So like, there's nothing that I'm not trying to dress it up with bells and whistles. I'm not trying to make music for a specific audience. I'm just making what I feel in my heart. And that's the best thing. Whether I put it out under Emanate or Brandyn Burnette, it's like you'll be able to tell that it is real, came from a real place. Almost every single lyric that's about to come out, like, and melody, I wrote by myself, with some amazing collaborators and producers and stuff in the room with me, but like they're all original thoughts. And yeah, it's just, I'm really excited about it. I'm about to send you a link as soon as we hop off, bro.
All right, and where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me right now on Instagram at Brandyn. I think on Twitter it's still Emanate. And then both on Spotify, Apple Music, you can look up the Brandyn Burnette. Or you can look up Emanate, and it's E-Man with the number 8 is how you spell that. I'm on SoundCloud, YouTube, everywhere that there's internet,
Yeah, facts. All right, well, thank you, Brandyn. Yeah, we're gonna be back in contact soon once the album drops.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So thanks again, and talk to you soon. Yo, Brandyn. Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. I just had to like stop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cool. But yeah, thank you again for everything. Like, appreciate it. Coming out, I had a good time.
Me too, bro.
I like talking to artists. And yeah.
Keep it going, man. I appreciate you taking time with me.
Oh yeah, anytime. Oh, and my real name is Horace or Horace.
Okay.
Yeah, Lloyd is just my middle name because I wanted to put it off of like Meek Mill and Tory Lane's song "Lloyd Knows." So
I love it.
You put Lloyd Knows. Right?
Yeah, it's fire, bro.
Yeah, so like knows music. So I'm like, all right. Yeah. So
great, man. All right, I'm gonna shoot you this link when we hop off.
I bet. Yes. Yeah. Thanks again. I'm gonna get.
Yeah. We'll stay in